Welcome back to another Code Peterson tutorial with another GB Studio demonstration. This goes with one of the questions that was in our comments. Is there a way where you can make moving platforms with GB Studio? And that's a really good question. It's a fair question. They're probably the most effective way to do this from ways that I've found is if you've ever searched around for some of these plugins, and there's this one called the Platformer Plus plugin. And if you go to gbstudiocentral.com, they have some documentation in there that show you how to get kind of started. Now, I know some people don't like to use the plugins as much. And myself, every time I do a tutorial, I try to make the tutorial have a possible solution with just the regular GB Studio engine itself. So that's what I'm going to show you today. This is one possible solution for it. So basically the setup for this, just a real easy layout here with some platform elements. And this is kind of going back to that same Thanksgiving turkey versus trying to stop Santa Claus from getting Christmas arriving too early themed game that I've been using for some other demonstrations as of late. And I have these flying reindeer that are going to kind of be a nuisance, but also provide the opportunity to use them as platform mechanisms through our game. All right. If I select on this, you can see basically the reindeer. This is just a 4 direction plus movement image sprite that I did, and it just has an animation while it is moving left and right. And this one's only going left and right, so I am not worrying about if it's idle for this demonstration. So you can see it's kind of got one where its antlers are up and the other one where the antlers are kind of facing forward. Like it's kind of simply galloping through the air. The other sprite is my character, which is just my turkey here. And it does the same thing, moves right, moves left. This one I did have an idle where it's standing still, and then I have a jumping animation. I didn't worry about climbing right now. So back to this game world here. These are going back and forth. This reindeer here, I just, in the on update tab, I gave it a collision group of 1. Didn't have to for right now, but once you start adding more enemies and everything, you'll want your objects that you're going to bounce off of to have a collision group with them probably. And then this is moving to the left, and then after it gets over there, then it's going to move back to its original position. So just moving back and forth in here. And I did slow the movement speed of this down to 1/4 just so it wasn't too fast. This one over here is doing just the opposite. This one's moving to the right, and then it's moving to the left. And I have keep running while off screen checked. You don't have to do that. I just wanted to make sure mine were both kind of meeting in the middle here. So when you're playing the game for timing purposes, but that's kind of up to you. So, this is a way to do it, and it does use some of your actors. So it is going to require a little bit of memory for this, but I think this will work well for it. Then also up here we have in the settings tab, it's easy to forget the settings tab up there. When I select on that, I did play around with this engine platformer section. So just kind of changing some of the gravity settings, some of the gravity while jumping, the maximum fall velocity. These are something you'll want to kind of tinker with as you do that to where your character isn't falling too fast so that when we want to bounce off of these reindeer, that it doesn't happen too fast and it makes it more manageable. Okay, now the other thing I have on here is with these reindeer on hit with the player, I have bounce for medium. So if I just jump and land on this reindeer, I'm going to bounce medium the entire time. But if I hold down the jump button while that happens, then I'm going to jump higher. Kind of like you would in a Mario game, you know, like when you'd bounce off enemies. But if you held the jump button, then you jump higher. So it looks a bit like this. Got those flying up there. And my reindeer's back here. And now I'm just jumping. And then when I hold it down, you can see where I jump a little higher, or a lot higher in that case. So again, that's maybe not the best solution that you're probably looking for. You're better off looking at some of those Platformer Plus style plugins that are available online for GB Studio. But this is something that you could do for this. Now, if I was going to go further into this model, I would want it to work, because right now, basically, I can just run into these reindeer underneath and I'm still going to jump over the top, because I just have them jumping on the collision, or once it collides with the player, then it bounces the player a medium height. So what I would maybe look at, and if you look back at some of my other tutorials where I showed how to do the platform game, the platform style game, there's a number of them on there. And when we use the enemies on that, we did it where when this collides with this, then we set a variable for the position of the enemy for their X and Y. Actually, you would just need the Y really. And then set the variable uh, location from the Y of my character. And if this Y is greater than the Y of this character, because remember, as you go down the screen, the Y increases. It's kind of backwards than what you might think. Then I might say something, if this is greater and I collide, then it's going to lose a life or take me back to the beginning. So that way, the only way you can move on this reindeer is if you jump off the top and you bounce, and then if you hit it from the side or from underneath or whatever, then it can cause harm to your life count of your game. So hopefully that is something that kind of helps out with a solution to that idea. If anyone else has any other things that they've tried that's worked a little bit better, shout out to us in the comments and teach us all. Just like the best part of this is all learning from each other. Appreciate y'all taking the time to watch, and hopefully we'll catch you on another tutorial video making some more cool GB Studio games.